Whoa, 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 whoa.
Wait, what's the problem?
This
What's the matter?
This is not a Jet show.
So what?
So how about this?
Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Oh, come on. I don't want to hear this.
Why not? Super Bowl champions.
Doesn't matter. I just don't want to hear it.
What do you want to hear?
How about some Mets?
Hey, if I can find one good thing that happened to the Mets, here we go.
Home run. Mike Piazza and the Mets lead 3-2.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be, I'm sorry. We all can't be like the Yankees.
Oh, speaking of.
This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run. Don Mattingly.
No. God, I can't believe I just said that. All right, well, listen. How about a little Nets?
If I have to.
Kid, the jumper to win it. He got it.
I can't take it. I can't take it anymore. It's been a second. I can't take it. How about some Knicks?
Oh, yeah, big spenders. Can't win a playoff.
Fair enough.
Houston pops out up top, down the lane, running jumper off the front rim, and in.
I guess we should talk a little hockey, no?
People even watch hockey anymore?
They watch the Rangers.
Well, if you have the Rangers, you got to have some Islanders.
Yeah, no, they didn't have a YouTube in the 80s.
All right, let's get the show started.
Here we are, polar opposites. Hello and welcome to the Polar Opposites podcast on polaropposites.podbean.com. Also on iTunes and live right now on Spreaker. You can also follow us on the Twitter at Polar Opposites 1. I'm Matt Stevens. Alongside me, as always,
Is Craig Moffitt.
And Craig.
Maddie, how you feeling?
Well, things have taken a turn since the last we spoke.
You got your Sonny Gray jersey ready?
Oh, dude, I haven't bought a jersey in. I'm 41 years old.
So
I don't buy jerseys.
You buy the
anymore.
T-shirt.
Jesus, I don't even buy those. I don't
Why
buy
not?
anything. I don't buy anything.
Why?
Because it's a waste of money. I don't wear it. I don't go to the games.
It
doesn't make me a better fan.
I have a thing. I always buy a T-shirt jersey, or like from those shady Chinese websites that they have, where you can get a nice jersey for like.
I think my Eli Manning jersey is that.
They're nice jerseys.
Yeah.
I mean, but they shrink and that's it. But I always get a player.
Yeah.
And once that player leaves the team,
You burn the jersey.
I get rid of it.
Well, what do? Do you give it to Goodwill? So
I give it to Goodwill.
Okay.
I always donate it. I don't throw it away.
Unless it's ripped or something like that.
Or it was given to me by my wife, and she gets really frustrated when I get rid of like Jet stuff that she got me, even though like Vilma hasn't been on the team since forever. And
Vilma, that was a terrible jersey.
And Favre, and I have a Favre jersey.
Oh,
Favre
of course,
jersey.
you know how many Favre jerseys and Jet?
You got to get a
jerseys?
Favre
Are you
jersey.
kidding?
Come on, man.
Oh, baby, I haven't bought a Yankees jersey. The last Yankee, the only Yankee T-shirt I have or jersey is I have a T-shirt and the blue mesh batting practice jerseys.
Yeah,
I have one of those, and they're both Mariano Rivera.
Not anymore though, because Sonny G's on the team, and I know you're going to be the first one to get
here
his
I go,
jersey.
going to get 55 Hideki Matsui. The good thing about Yankee jerseys is they don't. If you get the real one, it doesn't have a name on the back, so you don't have to. If it changes, it doesn't matter. See, now you wear a Ford Jet jersey. It says Favre on the back. It could be the kicker. Who knows?
I only use it now if I'm like shoveling snow or something like that. Like I don't wear it in public.
Yeah.
I mean,
Why would you?
Come on.
So we had the MLB trade deadline happen yesterday. We're going to talk a little bit about the Yankees and Mets on that. We'll get into a little bit of the other stuff going on with the Dodgers getting Darvish and all that other crap. Then we're going to do a little training camp. We're not going to do any NBA right now. I think in closing time we do a couple NBA things.
Yeah, nothing really. Nothing's really going on anyway.
Nothing's going on. Since all this stuff happened, we're in a dead period. And, of course, we don't really have to talk about hockey.
No.
Because there's nothing going on there.
Outside of the Islanders maybe
and
getting
to
into
be
arena?
fair, we're not going to do a whole lot of training camp except for Jets and Giants because, again, not a whole lot is going on right now.
Yeah, the game, I mean, the Hall of Fame game is Thursday. The real preseason games don't start until next week.
We're getting into the Chargers coach, right? Is that in closing time?
That's in closing time.
Okay, because that.
So
I won't say anything.
Matt's a little salty.
No, I'm not salty. Yeah, do what you want.
Okay.
Let's
So here we go. The local four of the week. Maddie, here we go. Number one. The Yankees stayed busy at yesterday's trade deadline, acquiring Sonny G from the A's for prospects Dustin Fowler, James Caprillion, and Jorge Mateo. And on Sunday, the Yanks acquired Jaime Garcia from the Twins for a couple of prospects to solidify the back end of the rotation. They're also in the midst of a terrific homestand, which saw them sweep the Reds in a brief 2-game series, take 3 of 4 in an important series against Tampa, and beat the Tigers in the first of a 3-game series last night. The Yankees are still a half game ahead of the Red Sox for first place in the East. Matty, what I want to know is, are the Yankees now the favorites to win the World Series?
No. No, you can't.
I disagree.
And you, but you only disagree with that because you want to jinx the Yankees. I'm talking from a place of a real knowledgeable sports fan. You're trying to be a jerk.
No, I'm not.
There is a difference in
disagree.
the two.
Again, I disagree with that too.
Here's the thing. You cannot do that to the Houston Astros and the LA Dodgers. It is not fair to either one of those teams to put the Yankees ahead of them right now just because of getting Sonny Gray and some guys for the bullpen. I'm not even going to consider Jaime Garcia because let me say this. If the Yankees do make the playoffs and Jaime freaking Garcia makes a start, we're in trouble.
I disagree. I think he's going to be he's
Stop.
the X factor.
Stop.
He's
Will
the
you
X
stop?
factor.
No, see, this is just you being that guy. That's all this is. It's just you being a freaking stupid, pissed off Met fan that your team sucks and your team is in the freaking toilet.
Stop it.
And so you got to now try and jinx the Yankees.
Sonny G, man.
The Yankees right now are probably in the discussion for top 5 teams in Major League Baseball, but the Dodgers are 1 and the Astros are 2. Now, if you want to talk to me in September and Keuchel's not back and McCullers is still on the DL and McHugh is still stinking and, all that stuff because they didn't make any big deals for a starter. If you want to talk to me then we can talk about if the Yankees go on a run. But right now, the two teams that are favorites to be in the World Series have to be the Dodgers and the Astros. It has to be.
I was a little surprised the Astros didn't make more of a move. I mean, Liriano will be for the bullpen. He's not even going to be for the rotation.
Right.
Look, it's a solid move. You didn't really, you gave up from a place of strength, obviously, because you have plenty of prospects. And from what I read, too, a lot of these guys like Fowler, Mateo, these guys may not have even cracked the Yankees roster because the Yankees are pretty stacked in certain areas.
And that's the thing that people don't talk about. Like if you think about Jorge Mateo, who's in Double-A, right? He was in Double-A. Right now, for the next couple years, you have Aaron Judge and you have Clint Frazier. Those two guys have basically solidified themselves as the future corner outfielders. And you might move Frazier to center if you want to. But then you also have Hicks and you have Ellsbury, who's on the team, unless they can find somebody to take 10% of that contract and the Yankees play 90. You know what I'm saying, right?
Gary Matthews Jr.
Exactly. So, that's the problem. Now, injuries always happen and you want to have depth, but the Yankees still have depth because right behind Mateo in center field, they have this kid Florio who's in Single-A who's tearing it up. So he'll probably get promoted to Double-A now and do that. As far as the pitching goes, the guy, kid Caprillion, like he might be good, but it's Steven Strasburg. He hasn't pitched in 2 years. When he pitches, it'll be 2 years.
This is my issue, not necessarily with the Yankees, but more the A's. Okay?
Oh, Billy Bean.
This is what I'm saying, right? Okay, first of all, I don't even necessarily know if Billy Bean had to trade Sonny Gray at the deadline. He's under contract for 2 more years.
He is, but
okay.
I'll let you continue your point, but I just want to say this. I feel like you get the best value for him when a team has control.
Now.
Like, the Yankees got more from the Indians than they did from the Cubs.
But here's the thing, though. You have Fowler, who tore a patella tendon.
Right.
Who's out for the season. And maybe part of next year. Caprillion just had Tommy John, so he's not going to pitch to at least 2019 at the earliest. Okay?
And actually, there's a bigger thing with that, and Cashman brought it up today.
And the thing is with the A's, it's like, if I'm going to trade a guy like Sonny Gray, I need a guy that can at least play now or at least can come up by next year.
Well, that's
by
Mateo.
2018. Okay, Mateo, but I need I'm just saying, like, from my perspective, I might need a little bit more. I don't want to take a guy who just had Tommy John surgery,
right?
Who might pitch in 2019. We don't know how good he's going to be.
Teams do that now. The Yankees drafted a guy who just had Tommy John surgery in the first round this year. That's what teams do now because Tommy John surgery isn't a thing anymore. Tommy John surgery is like you tore a hamstring now. And I'm not saying it's not serious. It's not what I'm saying. But it's become so commonplace that teams aren't worried about it. To me, look. It's the Yankees gave up a lot. If you're just looking at talent, forget about injuries for a second. If you're just looking at talent, the Yankees gave up a lot. What Dustin Fowler becomes after the knee injury, I don't know. Speed was a huge part of his game. That was the big part of his game was that he was fast. How does this affect him? We know how it affects football players, especially wide receivers. The problem, though, is that he doesn't have to cut and spin and pivot and do all sorts of different stuff with his knee that football players do. So will he have a better recovery than them? We don't know. It's also his front leg, and he's a left-handed swinger, so does that affect his plant leg, him swinging and torque on the knee? I don't know. Caprillion, he can't stay healthy. It's been 2 seasons. So these guys have tremendous upside, but there is a tremendous downside, too. Apparently, Mateo was the guy they wanted, And the Yankees wouldn't include any. The first they wanted Frazier or Torres.
Well, Torres, I knew
on.
they weren't going to get either one of those guys for Gray. But
And then
I
they
don't blame,
wanted-
listen, I don't blame Billy Bean for at least
Of course,
trying.
you absolutely have to try. And then they wanted to do Florio and Mateo, and then Cash was like, no, I'm not trading both, and so on and so forth down the line. What it comes down to is this. The Yankees got a piece they control for the next couple of years who's not making a ton of money and who's a good pitcher when he's healthy. But that's the thing. So both sides took on risk here, right? So the A's took on risk with two guys who have big injuries and a pitcher who's already injury prone. And the Yankees are taking a risk on a major league pitcher to help them win now who has an injury history.
I think it's a good acquisition for the Yankees overall. It's very weird because I remember last week we were talking about Sonny Gray, and I kind of got the vibe that me and you felt he was a little overrated. But it was just like now that the Yankees get him, I feel like the media is like all over this guy. Like this is like the savior to.
You have to go and actually really look at his numbers.
You know?
I was actually a little bit wrong on this. When he was healthy, and apparently last year he was. So he had Tommy John, and then the year after Tommy John, he wasn't great, right? Because he had a bunch of different injuries, leg or whatever, from the thing. Apparently now he's very healthy, and he's been pitching great for about 10-game stretch now this season. And he was in I think it was 2014 was his big year. He was excellent that year. So there is he Chris Sale? No, he's not. He's not, but he is a definite 2, could be 1. And listen, when you have if Tanaka can find it, and if Severino continues to pitch the way he's pitched, having him be your 3 is great. Because that just pushes everybody else back.
Right.
Number 2, as for the Mets, they split a 4-game series with the Padres and dropped 2 to the Mariners last week on their West Coast trip. The road doesn't get any easier as they play the Rockies in Colorado before heading home to play the Dodgers. The Mets were busy at the deadline as they traded Lucas Duda to the Rays for reliever Drew Smith, traded Addison Reed to the Red Sox for 3 prospects, and a surprising move acquired closer A.J. Ramos from the Marlins for 2 prospects. Craig, what I want to know is, did Sandy Alderson get enough at the trade deadline for players who won't be back next season?
Yeah, I think he did. I think he did pretty well with Addison Reed. I've heard a lot of good things about the pitchers. The only downside maybe to that is that the 3 guys they got for Reed mostly project as relievers, rather as starters. However, at the same time, you got another pretty good prospect for Lucas Duda, and that's probably the best you could hope for.
Pitcher, right? For Duda?
Yeah, pitcher. Yeah. They weren't gonna move Cabrera before the deadline. They weren't gonna move Granderson before the deadline. They weren't gonna move Bruce before the deadline. Everybody pretty much knew that. Now it comes to a point where if you put him on waivers in August, maybe you wind up getting like a middling prospect for Cabrera, depending on how bad a team wants him. As for AJ Ramos, that was a bit of a surprise for me because not to say I thought the Mets were going to be buyers, but in a way it kind of made sense because you traded 2 guys that are really young, could be good. We don't really know much about them. For a guy who's under team control next year. So he slides right into maybe that 8th inning spot because Familia will be back. And for now, he'll take over the closing duties with Reed out of the picture. So overall, I thought he did pretty well. Do I wish he would have done a little bit better? Yeah. But I'll take it for now because the Mets are pretty much in a bind and there just wasn't a lot they could do. So they took the 2 best guys they could get something for and they turned it into something else. But obviously, if there was a better market for outfielders, Bruce would have been gone. I think Granderson would have probably been gone too.
Sure. And I actually think that one of those 2 guys will go in August because I think both of them will clear waivers.
I think they really want to keep Bruce. I really believe that too.
Well, he's been good for them this
year. I know.
He's
I
been
think
clutch
what
for
they
them.
want to do is I was reading this morning before I headed over here. What they're thinking is they may get more value out of the draft pick that they could get for Bruce if he gets the qualifying offer, which they will most likely offer him. But at the same time, I think Alderson wants to keep him around long term. I think he wants to bring him back.
I got to be honest with you. I wouldn't do that if I were the Mets. I would offer him the year, and I would take the draft pick if that's how it goes. But I wouldn't bring him back. The guy's 31. All right, he plays an outfield spot that you have a glut in the outfield right now with all the players you have, and especially the kids coming up. And look, he's been good this year in a walk year of his contract, but in the walk year of his contract, he hasn't been amazing. He is not batting 300 with 40 home runs.
And that's my skepticism.
It's only going to get worse from here, right?
That's my skepticism because, just like you said, it's a walk year. Okay, he only has, what does he have, 27 home runs, I think, this year? 28 home runs?
Keep,
He's been good, not great. You know, like especially for a guy you want to try to sign long term, if you're thinking about signing him long term.
All right,
I mean, but I think he's been good.
This year is in 423 plate appearances. He has 27 homers, 72 RBIs. He's batting .263. That is a good year. And for Bruce, who probably, let's see, 219, 265, 250, 226. So he has the highest batting average he's had in a couple years. And the year he batted .265, he only had 202 plate appearances. But again, he's going to be 31. He's a little bit older. The Mets have to stop doing this. You have Cespedes on one side, who's 32 and is only going to start going downhill, and then you'd have Bruce on the other. And that means Conforto has to play center field, which is, although he can play center field, he's not a center fielder.
I'd rather get a proven. Listen, I know Conforto can play center field. At the same time, I'd rather get a proven center fielder to play center field.
Of course.
Especially in Citi Field, especially in spacious ballparks where defense is a priority.
And National League has tons of them.
Yeah, so I would rather move Conforto to either right or left field and then have somebody else play center. There was actually an interesting thing that I was reading, I forgot what it was, and they were saying that the Mets should try to go after, if they were going to acquire anybody at the deadline, try to acquire like Denard Span. You probably wouldn't have to give up a lot for him. He's under contract for next year. He can man center field. Giants. You know, Giants are out of it anyway, so you probably wouldn't have to give up a lot for him.
I love Span.
I've always liked Denard Span. I would have definitely done it but I don't think nothing really happened. But overall, I think the Mets did well. They know the season's over. Now it's, Rosario's coming up for the game tonight. Dominic Smith is not too far behind. So, and at this point, like I said, getting Ramos not solidifies the back end of your bullpen, but at the same time, he has closer experience, and he'll probably slide into the 7th or 8th inning role. So I don't have a problem with it whatsoever.
I'll say this, and then we'll go to number 3, is that the Ramos signing, the Ramos trade almost makes no sense to me because you basically traded 2 prospects and Addison Reed to get A.J. Ramos and 1 other prospect. If you feel like the 2 prospects cancel each other out because we don't know what they're going to be, right?
Of course not.
So that's what doesn't make any sense.
And with
to
the
me.
Marlins, I'll take a guess and say nothing much.
Right. So that's what doesn't make sense to me. Like I get it because you need somebody, blah blah blah. But I would have just kept and tried to re-sign Addison Reed. You know what I mean?
Like, I see what you're saying.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. That's all.
Number 3, ESPN's Pablo Torre is reporting through a, quote, trustworthy person that Kyrie Irving, quote, very badly wants to come to the Knicks over the Heat, Spurs, and Timberwolves. However, a deal for the Cavs point guard may be tougher for the Knicks to make than originally thought. They're not interested in including Kristaps Porzingis or Willie Hernan-Gomez in any trade for Irving. They would prefer to package Carmelo Anthony along with draft picks, but Melo is now insistent on only being traded to Houston. Maddie, what I want to know is Carmelo Anthony purposefully holding up this deal to spite the Knicks?
I don't think so. If it was Phil Jackson, I would say yes, absolutely. But now that he's gone, I don't think it's out of spite. I think it's this. If you're freaking Carmelo Anthony, why would you want to go to the Cavs without Kyrie there? Mm-hmm. Like, Kyrie's going to get you all the buckets. Now, I know they still have LeBron, and so you still have a chance of going to the finals, especially in the East. But you're a guy who can create his own shot, but plays better in a system that has a really good point guard. Right. So why would you go to the team who then gets rid of their good point guard that you want to go to instead of going to a team that's got 2 good point guards on its team?
Right.
And so I don't think it's out of spite. I think it's out of where – now, look, to be fair, he fits more in the Cleveland style of offense than he does in the Houston style of offense. It's not even close. But if you're just talking about – him playing well and being in a situation that's a good situation, man, you don't want to go to the Cavaliers right now. It's screwed up over there. So absolutely. Now, I think he's being a little stubborn and a little short-sighted in picking picking one team, because you may not be able to do it. It may not be able to match up with salaries and all the other crap you got to match up in the NBA. But I don't think it's out of spite right now. I think he's doing it as, where is the best place for me to go? That's not Golden State, because the Golden State can't take me, where I have a chance to win. And right now, Houston is that team more than the Cavs, just because
Harden and Paul. And Paul's his boy.
Right, but also just because there's no animosity, there's no nonsense, there's no crap, there's no guy wanting to be traded. You know what I mean? And it's not like J.R. Smith wants to get traded or Iman Shumpert. It's Kyrie Irving.
At the end of the day, is Kyrie Irving going to be a Knick?
No.
You don't think so at all?
No, because the Knicks are smart to not want to trade Porzingis or Hernan Gomez.
See, the problem with the Cavs right now is that this has become it's too public.
You have to trade him now.
Exactly what I'm saying. It's way too public at this point. If you go back, it's almost like I said about the Knicks trading Melo in a way. All these issues are too much at the forefront, which means at this point, if you bring these guys back to their respective teams next year, I won't use the word toxic for the environment, but it's not going to be good. It's going to be a distraction.
It's going to be listen, will they still win games? Of course, because I think what's on the court, it'll go away. It's like we talk about with Washington, with Wall and Beal. They hate each other. Now, apparently, that's sort of gone away, but you know what I'm talking about. This was last year they were talking about that. And so I think that they absolutely have no choice. But if I'm the Knicks, the stance of not trading Porzingis or Hernan Gomez, I love that stance. Don't trade them. You know they can both play in the league, right? You know Hernan Gomez can score. You know Porzingis can score. Do they have holes in their game? Absolutely. But there are very few players in the NBA who don't have holes in their game, whether it be defense, rebounding, whatever. But you have two guys who are under the age of 23 who are both big men who can both get their own shot, and one of them shoots three-pointers better than most guards in the league. So, yes, don't trade one of them because, again, it's like the opposite thing, right?
Well,
so, because why would Kyrie want to come here without Porzingis?
Here's the thing.
Like, Melo doesn't want to go to Cavaliers without Kyrie. It's the same the other way.
I could see Hernan Gomez being dealt over Porzingis. I don't think the Knicks want anything to do with trading Kristaps Porzingis unless it's like they get blown out of the water for a deal, and I think it would have to be more one favor towards the Knicks. It would have to be I would even say have to be more than just Kyrie Irving at this point. But it really depends on how bad they want Kyrie Irving.
Right.
If they get backed into a corner, and again, you have a new general manager who's only been on the job for a couple of months. Not to say, I think if this was Phil, I think Porzingis would be gone.
I do too, but here's the thing: if you trade Kyrie and you include Porzingis and Hernan Gomez in the deal, now Hernan Gomez to a lesser extent than Porzingis because I think Porzingis is more valuable.
Yeah,
but you don't know what Hernan Gomez is going to become. He's 22.
No, I know,
and he just had his first season. I'm saying that I think if you're the Knicks and you trade one of those guys for Kyrie, it sort of diminishes getting Kyrie back. Does that make sense?
I don't think I think it keeps them the same. I don't think it makes them any better because all you're going to have is Irving and Porzingis. Right. You're not going to have anybody else.
Right.
So who's your other person?
Right.
There's been a lot of talk about multiple 3-team deals that are going nowhere.
I saw craziest deal where Damian Lillard goes from the Portland Trailblazers to the Cavs. Kyrie goes to the Trailblazers. Melo goes to the Cavaliers. The Knicks got like three guys I never heard of.
Yeah, you see like that.
The Knicks are not doing that.
But I think a lot of times these sports writers that they come up with these trades and they just pull them out of thin air.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like, and then they give you the explanation as to why it would work. But the problem with the explanation is, why would Portland trade Damian Lillard? They love Damian Lillard.
Also, let's be fair. If you have to choose between Damian Lillard and Kyrie, it's a toss-up.
I would take Lillard.
Right, but I'm saying if somebody wanted to take Kyrie, like, you couldn't blame him. But I'm taking Damian Lillard, too.
Yeah. I mean, the thing was,
I think he's a much better player.
Everybody has a different opinion of who's the better player. But the problem is right now is, like I said, is that these issues with Kyrie and LeBron and now Melo and the Knicks have been going on. Well, Kyrie and LeBron has been a lot sooner. We don't really know when it started.
Right.
But with Melo and the Knicks, it's been going on forever.
Right.
So the fact is right now, all this garbage that's out in the forefront between all the drama, you got to get these guys off their teams.
I will say this. If Damian Lillard took the spot of Kyrie on last year's team, that goes 7 games. I'm not sure who wins. I'm not saying the Cavaliers win, but it goes 7 games. Because Lillard is more the classic point guard, whereas Kyrie is that new form where he's more the Iverson point guard. Number 4, Odell Beckham Jr. posted a video to Uninterrupted basically saying he wants to be the highest paid player in the NFL. In the video, OBJ says, "It's like the elephant in the room.
Oh, stop.
You know, you don't want to talk about it, but I've gotten to the point in my life where I'm like, no, I'm going to. There's no need not to talk about it. I believe that I will be, hopefully, not just the highest paid receiver in the league, but the highest paid period." Beckham still has 2 years on his deal worth $8.46 million, and the Giants could always franchise him for the following 2 years after his current contract expires. Craig, what I want to know is, does Beckham have any leverage against the Giants in contract negotiations?
No, I don't think so, because The only thing he could really do to make it like just more drama is hold out. If he really wanted to go that far.
He would have done that already.
He would have done that already, pretty much, because he's only playing, I think, this year at like 1 million.
It's like
or
1.6.
2 million.
Yeah.
So I definitely think he would have held out, like the way right now Aaron Donald is holding out for a new contract, and Donald Penn from the Raiders. So if he really wanted to hold out, he would have done it by now. The fact is, he really doesn't have much leverage, if anything, because the Giants can franchise him if they need to. They already have him for next year signed. So pretty much at this point, it'll get negotiated. He'll be back. He'll get the deal he wants. The only thing about being the highest paid player is like that sometimes only lasts like a year because then someone else tops it.
Maybe not even that.
Yeah, like that's the only issue with being the highest paid player is you're not the highest paid player for very long.
Didn't the Jacksonville Jaguars sign a defensive lineman? He was like the highest paid defensive
it was,
lineman, and then like a week later,
he was from the Broncos,
and then like Olivier Vernon got more money like 2 days
it was
later.
Malik Jackson.
Yeah,
that's
and like Vernon the next day signed.
That's what I'm saying. You're only going to be the highest paid player for anywhere from 24 hours to a year because there's always going to be another player that may be better than you, arguably, we'll say, who is going to want more money. And if the team really wants to pay that guy, they're going to. I just don't think at this point right now he has any leverage whatsoever. I don't think Giant fans have anything to worry about. He's going to sign. I think he'll sign a long-term deal. I think it won't be highest paid, but it'll be high either way.
I don't think he can be the highest paid player because, well, actually, here's how it could happen. Right?
He could be the highest paid receiver.
Well, that is going to happen. Now, again, it'll last for a week, but still, that's going to happen. At some point, they will say Odell Beckham signs the highest contract or wide receivers ever. Blah blah.
Until
blah.
Julio Jones goes what? And then he goes and then
Julio Jones is not even like the first now. He's like the fourth or fifth. It's ludicrous. But that's okay. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, did you hear what happened to Julio Jones?
Yeah, with stupid idiot with his
$100,000 necklace lost in like
moron.
Like I don't know what, parasailing or something like that.
Moron. Just and then the idiot with the nipple and then freaking stupid Dallas camp. Is that on closing time?
No.
Oh, okay. That idiot. Guy, dude, I get you want a nipple ring and I have no problem with you having a nipple ring. I don't care. Literally don't care. But don't you think you'd want to take it out for practice?
No.
It's what ouch.
Well, that could be like a rookie hazing.
Now, let's be fair. Like, you've gotten a purple narple? You went to high school, right? You've gotten a purple narple?
Of course. Actually, wait, no.
No one's ever grabbed it and twisted?
No,
not even in high school or grammar school? We used to do that all the time just to hurt the other person. We were idiots. But it hurts, and that's with nothing getting ripped out. Anyway, here's all I'll say. I think he actually has more leverage than most in this situation, and here's why. Because he is responsible for like 50% of the Giants' offense over the past 3 seasons, right? And it's actually hitting right at the perfect time. Because when he gets up for those contracts, when they're talking about paying him that money, Eli Manning is not going to be making the money that he's making right now. And that would be the problem, right? If you're paying a wide receiver and a quarterback $40 million, that's going to eat up almost all your cap. So when Odell starts asking for this money in 2 years, like you said, this year and next year, Eli Manning is either going to be out because they're going to have Davis Webb, who will be making rookie contract money, or they'll have restructured and it's re-signed Eli to a more manageable, say, $10, $12 million a year contract instead of $20, $21 million a year. So from that, and already Mara has already said they're paying him. He's already said it.
Of course.
Right?
They're not going to let him go.
Yeah, but listen, for the owner to say that really just takes away their negotiating stance, right?
To be very honest, the only way, and I mean the only way, that the Giants may consider not ever bringing him back
is if he get hurt.
That, or he just has a complete meltdown of uncontrollable.
I don't even think.
But I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that would do it, though.
I don't think it's going to happen either way. I mean, like I said, I think. Listen, that's what you strive for sometimes to be in the NFL. Is you want to be good enough to be the highest paid player in the league,
of course.
But there's always going to be someone right behind you. So my point is that I think he'll get paid either way.
Right? Yes, of course.
There's no question about that. Okay, he's one of the top 3 receivers in the NFL right now.
But that's how they keep score. That's how the players keep score. Right? It's not us. We keep score based on record of team.
Yeah.
They keep score based on how much money they make. And I think that he'll make it. But I think that the idea that Eli, if Beckham had been drafted like right in the middle of Eli's career, they wouldn't have been able to pay him that much money. But I think because they'll have either Eli on a lesser contract or the rookie or a guy not making as much money as the big quarterback stars make will allow them to pay Beckham for a couple years $20 million.
But of course, the video gets released, and what's the first thing people think?
Selfish?
Distraction. That's
Right,
the first term that people think.
He was asked the question. And to be fair, his answer is well thought out.
But you know what's so funny though?
They just don't like Beckham.
This answer is no different than if you asked anybody, "Do you think you're the best cornerback in the league?" And they say yes. What are they going to say? No.
But let's be fair. He said, like, read the quote. No, the elephant in the room, blah, blah, blah. No need to talk about it. I believe that I will be, hopefully, not just the highest paid receiver in the league, but the highest paid period. He says, I believe, and hopefully. He doesn't say, I will be, and it's definite. He says, I believe, which every player believes in themselves. And he says,
or at least
hopefully.
Say, I want to be, or I'm demanding
right.
to be.
But he said, I believe I will be.
Then I could see it
hopefully.
being a distraction.
Right. This is a guy saying, I think I'm going to.
He chose his words wisely.
Yeah.
I'm not. And again, I have no issue with the video or anything like that. Look, like I said, when you're in the NFL, if you're a guy of his caliber, that's your goal.
Yes.
Your goal is to not only win Super Bowls, but it's also to be the highest paid player in the league. So I have no issue whatsoever with Beckham saying that.
Well, the other thing, too, but let's be fair. There is Beckham is amazing, right? Because on two things that happen on the field, his entire career has been sort of lumped in on two events that happen.
Yeah, he gets
the
ripped.
one-handed catch against Dallas and the thing that happened on the field with Josh Norman. That was 2 seasons ago. When this season starts, that will have been 2 seasons ago that happened, right? Mm-hmm. And people still talk about him as being a lunatic, a crazy person, a me guy. This is a guy who
and that's nothing.
Shows up and plays every game.
And on top of that, though, he's basically the ringleader of the whole boat trip.
Yes, because, God forbid guys do something on their day off.
He is the ring. They basically made him out to be the ringleader of that whole thing.
And listen, we talked about this. Neither one of us give a rat's patoot. Neither one of us think that
I don't think it had anything to do with the loss.
Of course it didn't. Of course it didn't. It happened 6 days before.
The thing was,
even if you were hungover on Tuesday, it wouldn't have mattered.
Now, I could understand if the Giants were losing 21-0 at the end of the first quarter of that game against the Packers.
But that's the defense.
But they were playing great in that first and second quarter. It just kind of fell apart in the second half.
Let's be fair. He dropped passes.
It had nothing to do with the boat trip.
Of course not. But we assign nonsense to this, and then a guy ends up having to explain everything. What I found out from Anita Marks, who covers the Giants for somebody, I don't know who. And she says that almost because the Giants have Tuesday as their off day.
Most teams do, I think.
No, Giants, Monday's their off day. Sorry. So Monday's their off day. So she says that a lot of times after home games, he will fly to California for the night. But when you have that, you can do it. He can do it. He's got money. Who cares? He sits in first class. Probably got plenty of room. Or maybe he rents a plane. I don't know. But apparently he goes on these day trips a lot. And let's be fair. It never affected him before. So why would this one affect him? Right?
No, I get again. It's
nonsense.
Listen,
it's just irrational hatred of a guy. It's just what it is.
Here's the funny thing about it. At first, I didn't want to believe it because I just didn't want to believe it. The fact of because every time now he says something or he does something a little bit that may be different. He's getting killed.
He can't win.
And at first, I didn't want to believe it, but I'm sort of starting to change a little bit because, like I said, this comes out. Which to me, again, not a big deal, not a huge deal.
Doesn't show up to
voluntary OTAs.
And gets killed. Olivier Vernon doesn't show up. Nobody says a word.
Yeah. Do you see what
how is that not? Come on.
Vernon,
who, by the way, is the highest paid player on the team right now, doesn't show up.
I think the only thing I would have killed him on is the fact that he was supposed to be at this thing for kids, and he showed up for like 2 minutes and walked away, apparently. And then
he goes visits a dying kid with cancer, and
the kid passed away.
Like the guy. Like, let's be fair. If every team's huge star acted like Odell Beckham does off the field, you would be ecstatic. He's a lot better of a person than Zeke Elliott, but nobody gets on freaking Zeke Elliott. Could you imagine if there was a video of Odell Beckham pulling the shirt down of a girl on video? Could you imagine what would happen to that guy? Could you imagine if there was an allegation that he physically abused a woman? Could you imagine if there was a punching a guy out in a nightclub? They would be crucifying this guy. Zeke Elliott, nothing.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just a rational hatred of a guy.
It's a
who's
bit of a
very
double
good.
standard.
Absolutely. Speaking of football,
which leads me to that, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've been watching a lot of the training camp stuff or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you want to start with the Jets?
No, we'll get to that in a
Okay.
second. I have to say, I've been watching a lot of the NFL Network stuff, the training camp live. I mean, I understand the Hall of Fame game is Thursday.
Relax.
Holy crap. Every day it's at Cowboys camp. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
Are they playing in it? Is that why?
It's the Cowboys and Cardinals. But they don't show the Cardinals nearly as much as they show the Cowboys. Every day they're videotaping Cowboys practice. Every day. Now, I'd like to see other teams. I mean, that's the whole point of it, right? Is to go around to all the other teams and stuff. Not just the Giants or the Jets, but you want to see what's going on at other teams' camps, to see who's there and all that stuff. Every day, man. And I mean for 20, 30 minutes, nothing but Cowboy stuff.
That's the way it is. It's sort of like, if you, but it's funny because when you watch MLB Network, it's not the same with the Yankees.
No.
It's not, right? I mean, you watch enough MLB Network to know.
Sure.
Now, if they're doing good, it's like any other team. But if you watch the coverage of their trade deadline yesterday, they did just as much Dodgers. They did just as much Yankees. They did just as much as the teams that made big deals, the Cubs. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? They covered all three teams. So look, oh man. Okay, so what I'll say about the Cowboys, and then we'll talk a little bit Jets here, is you're asking a lot. You're asking a lot. You're asking a guy who last year had about, I think it was almost 200 less pass attempts than the big quarterbacks in the league to be better than they were last year when they only lost 2 games and both games were to the Giants, right?
Yep.
Now, the offensive line is still going to be good, assuming injury, and their run game is going to be good, assuming injury. But there were a lot of holes in Dak Prescott's games that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
On 3rd and long, he was terrible. He was terrible. Just look at the numbers. When he threw long passes, he was terrible. And let's be fair, defenses nowadays are smart. Defensive coordinators nowadays are smart. If they see you're not throwing the ball past 10 yards, they're going to jump routes.
Right.
And they're going to, look, just watch Janoris Jenkins in the second game against Dallas on Dez Bryant. He knew he wasn't running 15 yards down the field.
Right.
He just knew it. So you never saw cover. You know what I'm talking about when you see a guy who's a fast receiver, a big receiver, and you see the D-back playing 10 yards off him, so he gets those little 5-yard in cuts real easy. They didn't do that because they know he's not throwing the ball downfield. And the other thing nobody talks about with the Cowboys is this. Do they have a defensive line for the opening game? Is anybody not suspended on that defensive line for the opening game? Is anybody be able to play for them on that first game? I mean, it's going to be ludicrous. They may not have Zeke Elliott for the first couple games.
I mean, again, I think it's one of those situations where they just want to see the Cowboys back.
Sure.
And they had a great season last year. Dak Prescott was much better than anyone ever anticipated. And Zeke Elliott was exactly what he was. But the thing is, he's not out of the woods, and he could get suspended.
Sure.
It's not out of the woods yet.
But again, I liken the matchup of defense and quarterback to pitcher-hitter, right? So the NFL had remember it took them a whole year to figure out RG3.
Yeah.
It took them a little bit less time to figure out Tim Tebow, but they finally did. It takes a year because not everybody sees them. You see different
that's where
teams.
You get the sophomore slump.
Right, exactly. So you're going to see changes on how defenses play the Cowboys, and they're going to have to.
But now what the Cowboys have to do is they kind of have to adjust Prescott's style to make it to the point where he's maybe a little unpredictable.
Yeah.
Where
don't run every first down.
Exactly. Don't overly,
but
don't.
On a different, their defense is not great.
Their defense hasn't been that great for a long time.
And so again, if and again, it didn't affect them last year because they ran the ball enough, they controlled the ball enough to where that wasn't a problem for them, right? Their defense just wasn't on the field enough. But if if I'm playing the Cowboys, I might keep one safety deep on the Dez Bryant side, right?
Right.
But I'm dropping everybody else in the box.
I would. I'm
going to make Dak beat me with his arm. I'm not going to let Zeke get – now, he's going to get 85 yards rolling out of bed probably, right, just because that offensive line is that good. But I'm not letting him get 125. I'm sure as hell not letting him control the ball that long. I'm just not.
So defensively, right now for the Cowboys, you're looking at, well, right now you have a few guys hurt, but that's just probably because it's early. But you have defensive line, Tyrone Crawford, Stephen Paya, Malik Collins, I guess they do, and DeMarcus Lawrence. And you have Taco Charlton, the first-round pick.
Yes, Taco.
Right. Who actually, I mean, some people are predicting him to be Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think it's a bit extreme.
Can we
but
relax, please?
yeah, before, I mean.
Because let's be fair, you can double him. Who the hell else on that line is scaring you?
Linebackers are Sean Lee,
Yeah.
Anthony Hitchens,
Yeah.
and Damian Wilson.
And again, Sean Lee was healthy last year, but he has never, ever finished a season healthy before.
And the cornerbacks, Anthony Brown and Orlando Scandrick, Byron Jones, who was a cornerback. I guess they're moving him into safety, and Jeff Heath. I've never heard of half these guys.
But that's what
It's
I'm
like
saying.
the Cleveland Indians scene in Major League.
Who are these effing guys?
Yeah. So that's exactly what it is.
But think about this, right? Now, let's forget about the Giant defense for a second, okay? Which, if you're going to say the Dallas offense is something, I think the Giant defense would be put on par with that. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
The Dallas offense and Giants
Listen, the
defense are about
Giants-
equal.
the
But if you match up Odell, Shepard, Ingram, and Brandon Marshall against that defense, come on.
Well, I mean, look, we don't really know what I don't know much about the players. Doesn't necessarily mean they're bad.
It doesn't mean they're bad, but again, usually in the NFL, when you have a bunch of guys that nobody knows on your defense, it's not that good, right?
Well, we don't know who they are. I mean, because we're not really glued to
Okay,
Dallas
but
Cowboys
I watch
football.
Yeah, but let's be fair. How many Dallas Cowboys games I watched last year? I think I watched almost all of them because they were all on freaking national television.
That's true, too. That's a fair point.
So, and they were always the Fox game of the week, or they're always the CBS game of the week, or they're on at night, or they're on at blah, 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 blah. They're always on.
Okay.
And their defense isn't great. The thing is that their offense is really good, and it controls the ball very well. Probably better than most teams.
Yep.
Most teams don't play ball control anymore. They just freaking throw the ball and try and score.
Yeah.
So, want to do a little G-Hots?
Yeah, let's talk a little
JETS?
talk a little New York training. We'll start doing our previews next week once all the preseason games start getting going.
Yeah, I don't like to do it before that.
Yeah.
It just seems silly.
I don't have a lot of time anyway.
Well, I can't wait for the first spring training game. I'm super excited for it. It's
Preseason, not spring training.
whatever.
This is baseball.
It's you know what I'm talking about.
I'm actually taking my daughter to the first Jets preseason game.
Wow. First game for her?
Yeah, against the Titans.
You're going to make her a Jet fan, dude?
Why not?
Why?
Why?
Why do that to her? Why make her life miserable?
Oh, so now
Why
who's the douchey Giant fan now?
Totally. I
Okay,
never said
then.
I wasn't.
Okay, good. I respect the honesty.
Never. I'm not like you. I'm very honest. Instead of you trying to work around the Yankees going to the World Series,
I only did that for the
Rangers.
I only did that for the Rangers. Come on.
What I'm saying is this: is why do that to your kid?
She wants to go.
Give her the blue, the red, and the white, baby.
No.
Show her the team winning.
Then I got to disown her. I can't.
Team
do that.
winning.
I can't.
Anyway.
I can't disown her.
Well, have fun. Who are they playing?
Titans.
So you'll see first team for what, like 3 plays, 4 plays, give or take?
Maybe a little longer. I think it's going to be a game where McCown will get some time in the beginning, but I think it's going to be more Hackenberg petty.
Which is good. That's what you want to see.
That's what I want to see.
So there you
to be
go.
honest, I mean, I want to see a lot of the rookies, a lot of the young guys. I want to see what these guys can do.
You're going to see that on the
You know.
Jets, especially on offense.
But the thing is, I'm happy with that because then I always feel like the more reps they get,
Sure.
they're just going to get better. They're going to have some rough spots. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I mean, I want to see what Hackenberg can do. So far, what I've seen, looking at the tweets from the camp, he's been good, but he's also shown, that he's, But I think that's every quarterback in a
Yes.
way. I don't think it's necessarily. I just think with him, it's
the
magnified 10 times worse.
We even say more than that.
Yeah, because like the minute he throws an incomplete pass, and the issue when he was during the mini camps when he threw to the reporters, so many people overblew that whole
Yeah.
thing.
The guy threw a ball wrong. What do you want? It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's like
But
nuclear.
but you got to use your pride of lie. You know what I mean? When he's throwing
Or
the
in,
football.
or in Varsity Blues when Moxon throws it at the mascots the whole time. I mean,
But look, the Jets, Claudia retires, which I don't think was a huge shock, was it?
nobody really. Yeah, I mean,
Forte apparently had a little tweak of a hamstring. Who cares if Matt Forte doesn't play a single minute of preseason
not gonna
football?
care.
Does that matter? It doesn't matter. We're gonna get to some of the things because I got to talk about this Jet CTE thing in a second because some of the things they said was just
that was just
ludicrous.
Jamal Adams.
Yes,
that wasn't really just.
It wasn't, but I'm saying like he's like the leader of defense now, right? Isn't that like already, even as a
I
rookie.
don't necessarily know if he's the leader. I think I would give him more to Leonard
That's
Williams.
what they want him to be, right?
I would think so.
If you're the Jets and you're a Jet fan, what you want to see is McCown get the reps needed to be the starting quarterback. And if it doesn't matter if he goes 0 for 5, who cares? Just take him out of the game. He's 39 years old. He's seen enough of this crap. He doesn't have to do it anymore. You want to see the other two kids. And as for them, and I agree with you about Hackenberg, being a second-round pick from Penn State, so that's kind of local. Like, Penn State is as local because Rutgers sucks as you get up here. Right? Am I wrong?
Don't tell my friend's wife that she went there.
Oh, okay.
The last time we killed Rutgers.
Sorry, but your team sucks. There's no other way around it. You know, they should do a why your team sucks.
The last time we killed Rutgers, I had to listen to that.
Well, listen, you know, Deadspin should do why your team sucks Rutgers so it can get their fans.
Hey man,
out of
when
their
you
butts.
lose 2 weeks in a row, 70 by a combined score
brutal.
of 72-0, you got some issues.
Brutal. But I think that's what it is, right? It's just magnifying. Like anywhere else, this guy would just be under the radar. But he's a second-round pick who hasn't even put on a uniform in 2 years. And the Jet fans frustrated because they don't think they have – because they think now they're going to have to waste another draft pick. And I say waste because if you draft a guy in the 4th round and the 2nd round, one of those guys has to hit, right? In 2 years. It has
I
to.
think that's one of the things that's always killed the Jets is the fact that they have been unable to hit on those draft picks.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing.
And that's too, because now you might have to take your what might be the 1st or 2nd round pick, where if Hackenberg were to hit this year, right, which would be the best thing that could happen to the Jets, right? McCown goes in the first game, sucks, and there's like, you know what, Christian? Then boom, go. Just we don't care what you do. Throw 10 interceptions, doesn't matter. Just go out there and do it. And if he hits, and you could take the pick that you're going to use as the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd round pick on an offensive tackle, on like a really good defensive lineman or a wide receiver,
I would
great for them.
I give McCown no more than 5 games.
I wouldn't even give him that much.
You know, to be very blunt, I don't really think that McCown should be on the team. I mean, I like McCown, but I don't.
I mean, I know why they did it.
I would have
and it
rather.
makes sense, though. It makes sense.
I don't mind having the veteran, but at the same time, I'd rather see Hackenberg and Petty just duke it out.
Well, that's my thing. And listen, I actually heard him. He did an interview. I think it was on Michael K or something like that, and he was excellent. Like the way he talked about his preparation and McCown. I'm talking about now.
Yeah.
He was really good. So having him there for those young quarterbacks is a good thing because he also wants to coach when he's done that sort of thing. But it does them no service. It does the Jets no service to have that guy start more than like 2 games. Assuming that in practice, Hackenberg or Petty has shown you enough that they can get on the field. Now, if they're so bad,
throw McCown out there for Buffalo and Oakland week 1 and 2, and then have Hack.
Right, but I'm saying,
I would actually also.
But they have to go by practice. So if those guys are still that bad in practice, well, then you're screwed.
It's going to be hot and cold all preseason because like today, I was just while we were talking, I was just looking at the tweets, and basically Hackenberg didn't really have a great day today, while McCown was better. Yesterday Hackenberg was great from what they saw, and that was the first day in pads, whereas McCown wasn't. There's going to be things. If it's going to be like this the whole time, and Hackenberg doesn't really take like a huge step forward, then I start McCown week 1. I don't see the point.
See, I disagree. If they're like both having good day, bad day, then what's the point of starting it? Unless McCown literally is better than him every day, there is absolutely no reason to start McCown at the beginning of the season.
And the thing is, we keep forgetting about Bryce Petty, who has not been given enough of a shot.
And in his 2 games wasn't horrific. It was a game and a half, right? It was like game and a half.
You know what? You can easily argue that the team mailed it in.
Oh, sure.
Okay, you could easily argue the team mailed it in. I mean, why? That's not out of the realm of possibility.
Of course not.
Especially since they were arguing all the second half of the year. They all hated each other, and they were, Sheldon Richardson and Brandon Marshall getting into it and other things. But it's like you could easily argue that Bryce Petty didn't really get a fair shake because the players just kind of mailed it in.
That is absolutely true. Now to Jamal Adams.
This is a very touchy subject because it involves human life. And as much as I think, I don't really know what he was trying to get at when he said what he said, but this CTE thing has become a very, very touchy subject, especially from former players and families that have had to deal with it with their loved ones or whatever to now. I don't necessarily think his choice of words was very good. I understand what he was trying. I think I understand what he was trying to say was because he's a football player, he's competitive, and he'll die on the field if he has to. It's just the wrong way to go about it when it's related to CTE.
I agree with you. I think this is a 20-year-old guy who's
Been in the league for 15 minutes.
Got
basically.
the whole world in front of him, right? He was the first-round pick in a New York team, right? He's supposed to be was considered the best athlete in the draft, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got his whole life in front of him, and he has no idea what's down the road. And he, I don't know about his life, but maybe he hasn't run through much adversity or anything like that. This sounds like a guy who has no idea what he's talking about when it comes to this.
Of course not.
Because if he did, he would have said, of course I'm worried about it, but I would be worried about it if I was a race car driver or a baseball player or a hockey player or a soccer player. Like, you can't escape it. Now, you can escape it a little more in a game like baseball, but as we saw last night in the Yankee game, guy got hit in the head with baseball.
Yeah.
Now, he was going down, his helmet was coming up, it skimmed off his helmet, but if that's Mike Piazza got drilled literally right in the forehead with a freaking baseball by Roger Clemens. I was there at the game, and I was in the upper deck, and you could hear it in the upper deck. There is no escaping it. There just isn't, right?
No, not at all.
And so, look, I don't mind his mentality. If I'm a Jet fan, I love his mentality. I'm willing to die on the field for football, for the Jets, right?
But when it comes to
as a human being, shut your mouth.
Yeah, you got to choose your words wisely.
Because guys have killed themselves.
Because what you got to be careful of is if a player like him is that you're not overhyped. Everybody's expecting a lot from you this year. You're kind of taking it and running with it, so you sometimes think you can say what you want to say and try to get away with it, and you just can't.
But mostly it's because
people are going to take you to task on it.
Sure,
basically.
but mostly because one of the best football players I've ever seen, Junior Seau, killed himself because of CTE.
Yeah.
And
nowadays,
that alone is a reason for you to just be quiet.
And
I'm
the thing
sorry.
is, and like I said, we talk about it all the time. Nowadays, a lot of players are retiring early for that reason because they don't want to risk it.
Well, it's that reason, but most of those guys that are I say most because some didn't. Most of those guys that are retiring also had a much more money than the guys who came before them would have had at this point in their career.
That's true. I mean, listen, I get that part, but at the same time, the more you keep hearing these stories,
you're right. Absolutely. No, I agree with you. I'm just saying that. Look, it's just choose your words better. Like, you can be like, listen, I can't care about CTE while I'm playing because I'm just then going to be thinking about it the whole time. If you came out and said that, I would have absolutely no problem with it because you have to sort of think that way, right? Yeah. Like, if you're a pitcher that's been hit in the head by a line drive, you go out and pitch the next time, say you're okay, but you go out and pitch because you just have to forget that it happened.
Yeah.
And so these guys have to sort of forget about that. You just have to choose your words better. That's my only thing. Real quick on the Giants.
That's it.
Nobody's hurt.
Hallelujah.
Well, no, but like this, the McAdoo thing, right? So at this point in camp, there would have been at least 4 or 5 guys who haven't practiced, blah, 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 because of hamstring is tweaked or a calf or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
There's a couple guys that sat out today, nobody big because of soreness. Guys are sore, like they may not worked out, they're running more, whatever. And the one thing for the Giants that you have that is, and it's true for every football team, every team, is health. And so if you can make it through training camp with no significant injuries, if you can, I mean, at this point, under Coughlin, a guy would have already torn his ACL and been out for the year. Mm-hmm. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but just go back and look. It was like every day you would check Twitter, you would check Bleacher Report, you check all these things, just to be like, who the hell got hurt today? And just under McAdoo, it's only a year, so I have nothing to compare it to. So this year will be the comparison we make from now on, is that guys just aren't getting hurt as much, whether that's the change in the practice regimen, change in day off, change in whatever. It's been a positive sign for the Giants that their players have not been as hurt as much. And that's a good thing. So that's what if you're a Giant fan right now, I care about 2 things. The offensive line getting better as a unit, and Eric Flowers playing better, and no injuries.
And Geno Smith.
And if those 2 things come out as good, the Giants are going to be very good this year.
All right, fair enough. I got nothing to say on the Giants. I haven't really been following them too much.
Well, there's nothing to follow. Like, that's the thing. There's nothing to follow. I mean,
although I will say one thing. This is the most interested I've been in Jets training camp in a while, just because I want to see if the young guys are going to.
Yeah, that's how it rolls.
So in some ways, that's a lot of fun. But we'll know more after the first preseason games are played. I mean, next week.
I will say this, and then we'll get to closing time. It's funny, right? Like, have you heard anybody kill Aaron Donald or Donald Penn for holding out? People were killing.
Not really, actually.
People were killing Odell when the rumor that he might hold out.
I haven't heard anything
started.
honestly, everybody's been kind of praising Aaron Donald for holding out, I think. I don't know much about Donald Penn.
Let's be
but
fair. Now, look, but this is the problem with unions, right? Because unions never care about the guys who come after them. They only care about the time they're in right then. So the union negotiated these contracts where – because you remember it was what was his name? The quarterback for the Vikings, Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
He was the last guy to get that ludicrous contract as the first pick. And then they changed it to where it was tiered so they could do it that way. And the tiering sort of sucks, right? Because Odell Beckham Jr. shouldn't be making 1.6. Aaron Donald shouldn't be making whatever he's making. I'm sure it's less than what he's worth.
Yep.
But that's the way it is. And it's that way for a reason. Because you had rookies making more money than guys who have been in the league for 10 years who have real careers in front of them.
Right.
But at the same time, there has to be a happy medium we can find where if you outplay your rookie contract in the first 3 years, you can at least renegotiate up to a certain amount for the fourth year instead of that being the lowest paid year of your career.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Sure.
All right.
Want to do a little trade deadline real quick before closing
Yeah,
time?
sure. We got about, 4 minutes, something like that?
Yeah.
Listen, Dodgers getting Darvish I think is huge. You don't know what – you assume that Kershaw will come back from the back like he did last year, okay?
But with pitchers, you never know.
But you don't know. And let's be fair.
And you have a couple of guys on the Dodgers pitching over their head, like Alex Wood and Rich Hill.
And then they added to the bull. You know, they have a good
Cingrani.
bullpen and all that, so they're good.
I thought the Red Sox would do more. I know they got Reed and they got Eduardo Nunez or whatever, but I really thought they would do a lot more, and they really didn't. And that just could be because they just have no one else really left to trade.
And that's going to be a huge problem for them down the road. They don't have depth. That's the thing. So when guys get hurt, they don't have anybody to take their place. I thought the Reed acquisition was good for them. Nunez has been good so far. But the thing about Nunez is he's the same as every other guy they have. He's the same as Mookie Betts. He's the same as Xander Bogaerts. He's the same as Benintendi. He's one of these guys who can hit home runs but doesn't hit for power. The Red Sox haven't lacked for hitting. They've lacked for power. And so you have a guy who's just going to do the same thing as everybody else. Lucas Duda would have made more sense for the Red Sox.
I like the deal the Nationals made with the Twins against Kinsler.
Yep.
I didn't even know that happened until late last night because I thought the deadline had passed and I didn't really read about it. And then my friend told me that's a solid deal because they added Ryan Madsen and they added Doolittle and now they have Kinsler. So their back end of the bullpen is pretty much set, which is what they wanted to do from the get go. Didn't understand the Orioles getting Hellickson. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Well, but look, if you're the Orioles, you got to think of it this way. Yeah, you're 6.5 out in the division. I think it's only 4.5 out for the second wild card. You've been playing crappy baseball for about 2 months now, and you've just went on a run where I think they won like 7 of 10 or something like that. That number's probably wrong, but they've been winning more than losing recently, and they've gained some ground on the wild card. You're getting all your relief pitchers back who were hurt, and that was the bugaboo. Was all the guys were out, and so you're getting all those guys back. And the Orioles are like the Mets, right? Like this is an off year for them, but they should be contenders. Like we didn't necessarily agree with that, but most people thought they should be contenders.
Sure.
So they didn't want to fully sell because they think next year they're going to be back. The problem is they still don't have the one freaking thing that you need.
Pitching.
And that's at least good to better starting pitching. And they don't even have a guy, let alone two.
What else?
Cubs.
Overall, I like what the Twins did. I know because
Yeah.
the Twins pretty much they were at a peak and then they really fell off a cliff. So they got rid of Garcia, even though they had just acquired him, and then they get rid of Kinsler and they get prospects back.
Yep.
The Cubs get who'd they get?
The Quintana.
Yeah, they got someone else though, and I can't remember. And it's
the catcher, Alex Avila, and Justin Wilson.
Okay, that was a solid move for them. They're now back in first place with a 2.5 game lead over the Brewers,
And that division is done. The Cubs are winning that division.
That was a solid move all around by the Cubbies. Outside of that, it was pretty much, that was basically like the gist of it. And the White Sox traded Melky Cabrera to get more prospects.
I'll say this.
So-
I think out of all, I like the trade the Yankees made with the White Sox more than I like the trade they made with the A's. I think the White Sox trade will help them more in the long run than the trade with the A's.
Well, one thing about the White Sox trade, which I was reading about, was the White Sox have been talking to the Yankees about Robertson before the season started. So the White Sox had a pretty good idea of what prospects they could get from the Yankees, and they scouted their system pretty well, which is why they wound up getting the haul that they got. And again, it was this, in many ways a straight-up salary dump because they got rid of Frazier, they got rid of Robertson, and
Canely was sort of the throw-in for taking all the money, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So Listen, the Yankees did a great job in the trade deadline. No question about it. This is their time. I mean, I think, especially because the emergence of Aaron Judge and with Gary Sanchez, and that lineup is still pretty explosive. So why not at this point? And on top of that, Sonny Gray is under team control. Robertson, I think, is back after next year anyway. Frazier's the only one that's a free agent.
You ready?
Yep. Timed it perfect. Closing time, as always, rounds out our show. 8 topics, anything goes. All opinions vary. All opinions legal. And I think all opinions matter.
No.
All right? We can argue this every week.
No.
All opinions matter. Okay? Maddie, are you ready?
Ho!
All right, here we go. Number 1, NFL.com is reporting that the back issue that is keeping Joe Flacco out for a week is more serious than originally thought, and that he actually has a disc issue that could cost him anywhere between 3 to 6 weeks, and he'd miss Baltimore's home opener against the Bengals. The news regarding Flacco got the buzzards circling around the possibility of Colin Kaepernick finally getting an NFL job. But the Ravens passed on Kaepernick and opted to sign David Olson, formerly of the Kansas City Phantoms of Champions Indoor Football, an indoor football league. Olson was released a week later, and the team signed Josh Woodrum, an undrafted free agent out of Liberty. The team is talking to Kaepernick, but nothing is imminent. Is this signing the final piece of evidence needed to prove Colin Kaepernick has been blackballed out of the NFL?
Well, I think blackball is the wrong word, because blackball to me implies collusion by owners to not sign him. I don't think that's what's happening here. I just think that all owners have said, we're not going to sign him. They just haven't colluded to do it. I don't think it's the final nail in the coffin. I think that some team will have a huge injury and we'll need somebody like Kaepernick to come in, like maybe a contender or something like that. We have to get over this, guys. Are you kidding me? That there was less outrage that Greg freaking Hardy got a second chance in the NFL over Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick did a peaceful protest about a problem that actually exists in this country and never did anything wrong, bad, or even a little bit bad. And it is insane. It is insane to me that this, and you know how we feel. We think he's terrible. I wouldn't sign him just because I think he's a bad quarterback. But if teams think he's good, to not bring him in because of this means you have literally lost your minds and do not understand that the outrage over this is by certain people. And yes, it's always the minority voice that has the loudest.
Yeah.
But this is nonsense. There's been less anger about wife beaters and drug addicts. Mike Vick spent time in prison for killing dogs, for crying out loud, and this guy can't get a job in the NFL. It's insane.
I can't top that. What I will say is, listen, there's still a chance he could come back to Baltimore. He could go to Baltimore if they really think the Flacco injury, because Ryan Mallett has looked terrible so far in training camp, although then it's only been a couple of days. Look, I think at this point it really depends. If you don't think Flacco is going to miss a significant amount of time, then I don't think you make the call. But I think if he is going to miss time, and back injuries are very touchy, disc issues especially, where one bad hit can knock him out for the season, I think Kaepernick would be better insurance than what you currently have. And I'll just leave it at that.
Number 2, as the Falcons prep for the 2017 in hopes of putting the Super Bowl collapse behind, Matt Ryan threw some of the issue on former offensive coordinator and now Niners head coach Kyle, the guy we love, Shanahan. Ryan said in an interview with CBS Sports' Pete Prisco that Shanahan took too long to call plays late in the Super Bowl, with the game still to be decided. Ryan was asked about his comments regarding Shanahan he made to Prisco and backtracked a little bit. Quote, "In that situation, it was just a reference to how we operated all year. It wasn't coming in too late or anything. That's just the way it came in. I thought Kyle did a great job for us last year." Was Ryan inadvertently blaming Shanahan for costing the Falcons a Super Bowl championship?
I think he was partly blaming him. I mean, I just don't think he came out and bluntly said it. I mean, I think he backtracked pretty quickly. But we also said that Shanahan was a problem.
He should have been blamed.
Yeah.
It was his fault. Run the ball once. That's all you have to do and you win the Super Bowl.
That's my point. So I think in some ways, I think what happened was he stepped in it and realized he stepped in it. And then he had to backtrack and say, well, wait a minute. I think Kyle did a great job. But I think he really said, what he really said was, yeah, he kind of screwed us a little bit in the Super Bowl this year. I totally think he did.
Absolutely.
Now, I think that wasn't his intention. I think it just came out that way. But sometimes the truth hurts. And we said it because everybody in the free world watched the Super Bowl. It was not a doubt in my mind that Kyle Shanahan was the reason why they lost that Super Bowl.
We have now seen 2 offensive coordinators lose their team the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean,
Seattle Seahawks?
and that guy's still working there, too.
It's unreal.
You know, there isn't a doubt in my mind that Kyle, we've always said Kyle Shanahan's overrated. We've always said Kyle, it's ridiculous how much praise he gets. The fact is his offensive game plan in the second half of that game squashed their chances of winning the Super Bowl. Plain and simple.
Brutal play. And listen, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. Sorry.
He's right, even if he didn't mean to be right.
Right, but yes, it may have taken all that time all year, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't matter because in that time is what screwed it up.
Number 3, during his acceptance speech for the Basketball Hall of Fame, Tracy McGrady might have ruffled a few feathers of some players when he said, quote, "Anybody can win a championship. Not everybody can get into the Hall of Fame." End quote. McGrady's comments didn't sit well with J.R. Smith, who took to Twitter to fire back. Quote, "Facts. People who did nothing make the Hall. If it was like MLB, okay, but Basketball Hall of Fame, you can build a park and get in." End quote. McGrady never won a championship and only made it to the second round of the playoffs in his career as a player, but not until his very last season while with the Spurs. Are you okay with McGrady's comments?
Yes and no. It's sour grapes. Because let's be fair. If you were a player, would you rather have a championship or be in the Hall of Fame?
Well, you want to have both, but if I had to choose one, I'd want the championship.
And that makes sense. But he's not wrong. Because Robert Horry, I think, has the most championship rings of anybody of the modern era. Is that guy a Hall of Famer? J.R. Smith has a... Do you see the guy last on the bench gets a freaking stupid ring? Do you think that guy... You know what I'm saying? But, like... here's the bigger problem with this, is that J.R. Smith's an idiot, right? We can just all agree on that. He's an idiot. Because when he says facts with his stupid Donald Trump all caps nonsense, people who did nothing make the Hall of Fame. That is that statement
That's a
right
slap
there.
in the face.
But that statement right there just shows you how stupid the man is, right? Because look, let's be fair. Is Carmelo Anthony a Hall of Famer?
I don't think he is.
Some people do, right? And he might make the Hall of Fame. CP3, do you think CP3 is a Hall of Famer?
Again,
Look at the numbers. Yes, he is.
See, but
but you're talking about an NBA where you have to get lucky, right? Part of it is luck. LeBron never won until he had Wade and Bosh. Okay, some of these great players, like if LeBron stays in Cleveland his whole career, do you think he wins a championship? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
And so does that mean he's not a great player? I mean, come on, J.R. Smith's an idiot.
All right, I got nothing. I can't top that. So
yeah, he is. I got nothing else to say. Number 4, the Cubs are planning on giving Steve Bartman his very own World Series ring. Bartman was vilified in Chicago after reaching for a foul ball during Game 6 of the 2003 NLCS at Wrigley Field. Many people blame that specific play as the turning point of the series, as the Cubs went on to blow a lead in the game and ultimately lose the NLCS to the Marlins. Bartman was vilified in Chicago and went into hiding after receiving numerous death threats. Owner Tom Ricketts said in a statement, quote, "We hope this provides closure on an unfortunate chapter of the story that has perpetuated throughout our quest to win a long-awaited World Series." In a statement, Bartman said he was deeply moved and sincerely grateful to receive an official Cubs World Series ring. Craig, have the wounds officially healed?
I guess to the Cubs they have, but only because they won the World Series. I think if the Cubs hadn't won the World Series, Steve Bartman would be public enemy number 1 because they'd still be blaming him for everything.
Everything.
I mean, this guy's life is completely destroyed because of that one incident. And to be honest, that's not the reason why the Cubs lost the series. The Cubs just screwed the pooch, and that's why they lost the series. It had nothing to do with this guy who was like so excited to go to this game and maybe try to catch a foul ball.
He's got this stupid headphone. He's listening to the broadcast.
He's listening to himself catch the ball.
I mean, like, come on, guys.
Right? I'm sorry, but like, the wounds have only healed because the Cubs won the World Series. And even then, I'm a little reluctant to say the wounds have healed. If I was Bartman, I'd be still furious because I literally got blamed for this team sucking for as many years as they did before they finally won last year.
He has not been to a live Cub game in
and he never will go.
13 years. Was it 14 years almost?
So now all of a sudden they win a World Series last year, and it's like, okay, Steve, we're good.
Now here's the thing, though. This is a new ownership group, and I think what they did here is nice. I think it's actually good what they did. I sort of agree with it because if Moises Alou, let's be fair, if Moises Alou doesn't throw a temper tantrum on the field, nobody ever blames Bartman, right?
No, I don't think so.
If he does, you think that he does?
No, I think he would. No, I don't think anybody would blame Barman. That's what
Right.
I meant.
And again, if Alex Gonzalez, I think it was Alex.
I think it was Alex. Yeah,
If he makes a simple double play that's hit literally right to him, And then there was also Game 7. That's Game 6. There's Game 7. You lost Game 7. Didn't Kerry Wood hit a home run in that game in like the first inning or something like that, or second inning?
It was like in Bull Durham when the guy's glove was jinxed and they have to cut the head off a live rooster just to get it, and he makes like 4 errors.
Need to cut the head off a live chicken.
Listen, at this point, I mean, look, the ownership did a nice thing. This guy's life is still just like traumatized.
Ruined.
I mean, so you did a nice thing, but I don't think if I was Barman, I don't think the wounds are officially healed. I literally had my life ruined over one play.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, but it's a nice gesture, but let's not go crazy about it here.
I agree.
Number 5, Matt's boy LeVar Ball threatened to pull his team off the court after being assessed a technical foul by a female referee who he claims has a vendetta against him. Ball's exact words were, quote, "She needs to stay in her lane because she ain't ready for this," end quote. Ball requested that the female referee be removed from the game, and Adidas, who organized the tournament, honored the request. Adidas later apologized to the female referee, saying it was the wrong decision. But Court Club Elite has ended its 5-year relationship with Adidas after this incident. They're the ones who hire the referees for Adidas for these tournaments. There was even a report saying Adidas asked the officials to refrain from giving LeVar technicals due to his drawing power and possible recruitment of Lonzo Ball to join their brand. Ball actually pulled his team off the court during a similar tournament a week ago after being issued a technical foul during a game. Did Adidas purposely remove the female referee to keep LeVar Ball happy for possible future business endeavors?
Absolutely. And they can say no all they want, but that's exactly what they did. Let's be fair, guys. I wasn't there. I didn't see what happened. I absolutely think that no matter what happened, he deserved a technical foul from that female referee. You could show me the video, and it wouldn't matter, okay? And let's be fair. This pisses me off.
Oh,
she
yeah.
should stay in her lane? Are you kidding me?
He's an
so
idiot.
you're telling me that... listen, if you want to say that women can't play basketball with men, we can have an argument there. But a woman being able to call a basketball game, it doesn't freaking matter. If you have a women part or man parts, it doesn't matter.
And she calls Division I college
right,
games,
but
too.
you can tell the difference between a foul and a travel. Oh God, this guy is the worst. Here's the thing. Let me say this. Can he be gone? Can he be gone from my life?
Yeah, it's just one thing after another. We've said this a million times. He's living off the fact his son is now playing for the Lakers with a high draft pick and all that stuff. So he's getting away with stuff because he can, because he's Lonzo Ball.
He's an
or
ass.
LeVar Ball. And the thing is, he's treating women like garbage, and women who are trying to break into like refereeing games.
Which is a hard thing to break into.
I mean, it's a slap in the face, and this woman has plenty of experience refereeing Division I college games. So who is he to tell her that she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about? And like you said, he probably did deserve it.
Yeah, and Jordan said he could beat him with one leg.
I don't doubt that for a second.
Number 6, Alex Marvez of Sporting News is reporting through 2 sources that new Chargers head coach Anthony Lynn is not allowing Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates to go to the Hall of Fame induction ceremony for their friend and teammate LaDainian Tomlinson, and is insisting they be at practice on Saturday, which would be their first at the StubHub Center, where they will play all home games for the upcoming season. Another source said Gates is considering going to the ceremony anyway, even if he draws a fine. Lynn has denied that both players were told they couldn't go, but was adamant about wanting Rivers and Gates at Saturday's practice. Is Lynn being too harsh with his veterans about one practice?
Yes, he is. And the thing is like, with all due respect, Rivers and Gates have every right. If anybody should be able to be excused from a practice, it's Rivers and Gates. I can understand if it was your first-round pick or anything like that, but Rivers and Gates have been with that team since pretty much their whole careers.
Yeah.
And if anybody should have access to go to see their friend, and this is again, I don't know much about Anthony Lynn, but it sounds like he was trying to be a douche. Mm-hmm. It sounds like he was trying to say, you know what, this is my team, and I'm not going to I'm going to put my foot down on this one, or whatever. This is an important ceremony for probably one of the greatest Chargers of all time. Okay, and they were a part of that history, Rivers and Gates with them. So who are you to tell them, well, you can't go to the game because we really need you at practice, a BS practice, in our first practice in our arena, in our stadium where we're going to play all of our games. It's ridiculous. Let him go. It most likely will happen. And I think now he's denying it because he got called out on it. So in my opinion, he's being ridiculous. Let them go. It doesn't matter. I don't think Rivers is going to play one series in that first preseason game. Give me a break.
I agree. Look, why? Why would you do it? It makes no sense. This is a young coach.
You really want to piss your veterans off?
But that's the thing. This is a young coach trying to flex his muscles and show who's boss. And you got to know, and like Tom Coughlin learned this lesson very hard way. You got to sometimes just say, okay, it's one practice. And also, let's be fair. Would it hurt to have the backup quarterback get all the reps for a day? I mean, is Philip Rivers really going to be hurt by that? It's nonsense. It's pure nonsense.
Number 7, Maddie, set your DVR. Sharknado 5, Global Swarming, premieres Sunday night on the Sci-Fi Channel. But the film's originator, whose name is actually Thunder Levin,
Yeah, I don't believe that.
recently told the New York Post that the fishy storm could definitely happen, but more as a, quote, sharkicane. Quote, we know that powerful enough tornadoes and hurricanes can lift large objects, including sharks if they're passing over water. As global warming gets worse, it adds more energy to the atmospheric system. So it's perfectly logical. A more powerful weather phenomenon makes a sharkicane more likely. Matt, I don't think I need to ask this question, but could the world see a possible sharkicane in the not-so-distant future?
No. Stop. And can we stop making Sharknadoes? Is that possible?
No, we have to
one.
keep making
I've never watched one.
Oh,
Never.
they're great.
No, there's no way.
Especially the one at Citi Field.
There's no way they could be great. There's no way. They're terrible, and they're made to be terrible, and that's fine.
They're made to employ people like Ian Ziering and Tara Reid.
Right, exactly. But
And there's nothing wrong with that.
well, there's a little bit wrong with that because Ian Ziering was so bad on 90210. He should never be allowed to do anything ever again. But that's for another day. Look, here's the thing. No, it won't happen in our future or distant future or ever future because that's not the way hurricanes work. They don't pick stuff up and drag it and fly it in the air. That's what tornadoes do.
Especially wildlife.
Hurricanes don't bring stuff up. They blow stuff down. Okay? Tornadoes lift stuff out. Watch Twister and then watch The Perfect Storm, and you'll see two totally different ways that things happen. So I think that this guy's just an idiot and a moron, and with a name like Thunder Levin, who could wonder why?
I will say one sentence.
Do it.
If Donald Trump can be president, anything is possible. So I will say a sharkicane is possible.
Yeah, but Donald Trump became president because of idiots. Sharkicane isn't going to happen because of idiots.
Well, maybe. You never know.
That's not true. I guess you're right. Number 8. If you're not doing anything August 26th, there are still plenty of tickets for the Floyd Mayweather-Conor McGregor fight in Las Vegas. An online check by the Daily News shows there are still hundreds of tickets left, and fans can still buy up to 6 tickets together, which is the max per purchase. The ridiculous prices are most likely playing a major role, with cheap seats going for $3,500 each. And if you don't want to spend the $100 to watch it on pay-per-view, the fight will be shown in select movie theaters around the country at a cheaper cost. Craigie is surprised that the fight hasn't sold as well as originally thought.
No, because I think that as much as there are people who really want to see it, I think there are plenty of other people who don't want it, who don't really care.
$3,500. There's only a very few people that can afford that much a ticket.
Yeah. And they're in Conor McGregor's family or Floyd Mayweather's family. I mean, listen, I'm not surprised in the least. I mean, the tickets are outrageous. This is the problem, though. The marketing for this fight was basically like, yeah, anybody will pay whatever they want to see this. I mean, you had tickets so much as $10,000 ringside. I mean, that's insane. And I think this fight is going to end. This fight is a weird. I think this fight's going to end one way. It's going to start where McGregor's just going to come out swinging, and he's going to get tired after the first round, and then Mayweather's going to beat him. Or it's just going to be an exhausting 12-round fight that no one's going to want to sit through. Because it's just going to be with a guy with no boxing experience and a guy who's just looking to make money. At the end of the day, if I'm going to go see it, I'll go see it in the movie theater because it's cheaper, and I won't have to pay the $100 to see it on pay-per-view.
I will not spend a single dollar to watch this fight. I will not watch this fight. I don't care if they both literally spontaneously combust in the middle of the ring. I don't care because because you are trying to take advantage of me as a sports fan and think I'm an idiot.
Mm-hmm. And
now,
that's
if
why
I was a boxing fan, maybe, but I'm not, so I don't care.
But I'm saying if you would be more inclined to pay the $100 to watch it on pay-per-view.
Oh, absolutely.
Than the $3,500 to sit in the upper deck. I mean,
you mean like 2 months rent?
Yeah, and what you could wind up sitting through a crappy card on top of that, an undercard. So
and the fight's gonna suck.
Yeah,
you know it's gonna suck.
And the thing is, I am not surprised in the least that this fight hasn't sold as well because again, I think they overplayed their hand.
Absolutely.
With these BS media tours and the phoniness, it's very phony to me. All that stuff is phony. But I'm not surprised in the least. But again, that's what happens. So, and with that, closing time is officially over.
Yeah.
And this episode of Polar Opposites is over, and we'd like to thank everybody for listening as always. Check us out at polaropposites.podbean.com, as well as iTunes, as well as Spreaker.com, and follow us on Twitter at PolarOpposites1. Back next week with a new show, talking about baseball, football, training camp, maybe some NFL preview, anything we could squeeze in, and maybe we'll do a review of Sharknado 5 Global Swarming while we're at it. So again, one more time, polaropposites.podbean.com, iTunes, and Spreaker.com, and follow us on Twitter at PolarOpposites1. Enjoy the week, enjoy the games, enjoy life, and we will talk again next week.
Bye.